James Adams, the Director of Hardware over at the Raspberry Pi Foundation, recently announced on the Raspberry Pi blog a new hardware module that was coming out called the Compute Module. James has worked for the Raspberry Pi Foundation for just over a year and originally used to work with Eben Upton over at Broadcom. Whilst at Broadcom, he worked on a 3D graphics chip that ultimately ended up in the Raspberry Pi amongst other products. As the main developer of this module, I thought it would be fantastic to see what he has to say about this new product, so I headed over to the Raspberry Pi Towers to have a chat with him to see what he has to say. So you've probably been working on this for the last 12 months, is that correct? Has this been your baby for the last 12 months, or even?
I mean, we're very busy here, so I wouldn't say constantly working on it for 12 months. It's come in fits and starts, and we did. This is sort of the engineering sort of production prototype, if you like. So the version that you'll see in production is very slightly tweaked, but almost identical. We had a previous prototype which was a bit different, so we tend to do a couple of prototypes, and then we find any problems and tweak things and get feedback from people in the office and the odd person who other people might talk to, like Broadcom or whatever, really, and then we sort of tweak it up. So this is prototype number 2, and the final version will be very, very much almost exactly the same, but there'll be a few tweaks for manufacturing.
So my understanding is, obviously, I think a lot of people, we saw it go on the page, and you guys tweet about it, and everyone just kind of like, what is it?
Yeah.
And so I think what I've come to understand is that essentially the small chip on the board is a Raspberry Pi.
So what have we got on the little board? So on the little board we have, this is effectively this is the same processor on the Raspberry Pi. Yep. It's got the same memory on it. Stacked on top is the 0.5 gigabyte of DRAM, and then this chip is the replacement for the SD card. Something called eMMC, which stands for Embedded MMC. Yep. Very kind of similar interface. It uses the SD card interface of the processor, but it's actually more designed for being used as a file system, where SD cards aren't so much. They're more for storage in your camera. Yeah. So it's the right product for something that's going to be embedded inside a product where you can't really access the file system or change the SD card.
Yeah. And the kind of the connector that goes to it. This is really just so that people can prototype with it and can actually make use of it until they create their own PCB. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean that's the idea. So we want people to go and make products with this inside it. In a way, we kind of see this as almost like a chip, really. It's you have to give it power. You have to you look at the pins and you decide how you're going to design your circuit around that. There's a lot more interfaces on it. In fact, almost all the interfaces from the main processor, which you don't have available on the Pi. Yeah. So yeah, you can almost just think of that as a chip. We've just repurposed this DDR connector because it's cheap and available. Yeah. And yeah, this board is designed as a kind of get you started. You can hack up your product by connecting things to the slightly easier connectors. You've got your HDMI, you've got your 2 cameras and 2 displays, USB port, power for the board. But it is very simple. It's just a board of connectors and a power supply. So we expect people to get hold of this in a compute module, prototype their product, and then go and spin a board. Yeah. And that's that. I'm
guessing you've had people request this, because the real question is, why build it? Why make it?
I think it was just something that was. It's something I personally wanted to do. Even before I joined Pi, I thought that would be a cool idea. Yeah. Certainly when I joined, there were sort of ideas of doing a much smaller Pi. But then we sort of thought about it, and we looked for a connector, and I definitely wanted to try and bring all the pins out so that you could do as much as you can with the processor, because it's a very flexible device. So we ended up with the SODIMM form factor, which is great. It's kind of no-brainer, cheap connector. You can't plug it in the wrong way round. So that works quite nicely. We could see that people were building Pis into things, and it was almost just an obvious thing to do. And it allows something which is really, the Pi really has, down well now, is the software, right? So,
definitely.
It's very stable, and it's just crying out for this kind of thing to now let people leverage that, but into their own products.
Yeah. So what sort of industry-based products do you expect to see it in?
I'm sure there'll be a lot, from vending machines and signage type applications to, I'm sure there'll be so many things. Whatever you can imagine, really.
Yeah. Factory robots with a web server on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a low cost way of adding Internet of Things capability to stuff. You know, we can see that as this is sort of an Internet of Things type thing as well. If you want to go for the buzzwords that are around at the moment, you know, you just need your USB to Ethernet type chip or USB to Wi-Fi to plug alongside that, or you know, USB to 3G dongle or something. You know, there's endless possibilities now.
That's really great. So it's not necessarily going to be like, it's not the next educational Pi. I guess the hope is that you'll generate some revenue from this. That revenue can then be...
Absolutely. That's the idea.
Put the money back into the pot and hopefully grow the foundation.
Yeah. But I also think that people will do things with this which they don't necessarily... sort of almost for commercial reasons, which will also feed back into the Pi ecosystem as well. So, you know, software and drivers and all the rest of it. So it's a good thing all round, I think. You know, we'll make some money we can put back into education. People can go and make stuff with this. Sure. And, you know, hopefully we'll drive innovation at the same time. So.
Brilliant stuff. So when do you expect us to get hands on one of these, or can I have this one?
You can't have that one, I'm afraid. Sadly, we don't have an awful lot of the prototypes. But, you know, we are working hard to Sony's going to build them.
Okay, brilliant.
And we're working hard to get our first batch made. You know, the design data's gone to them the other day for the production version, and it's basically just down to them to be able to get the parts, get the boards, make the thing. So you know, we're sort of thinking 6 weeks from now, 6 to 8 weeks.
Brilliant.
And there should be some for people to buy.
Great stuff. Wonderful. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
That's great. Thank you. So if you like these videos, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.